Got another 2829 Speedo on the workbench. This one may be a little bit more interesting because the main shaft here ran so dry that it gathered an excessive amount of play, and in process it completely wrecked the dial. You see the carrier is still attached here, and it broke off in there and also sheared off all the numbers. So we're going to have to get creative. I'm going to start tear down like with any other Speedo, first removing the tripometer. And then the odometer as well. I'll now remove the gear from the back. Which still has all of its teeth. I can just about demonstrate the reason why this thing decided to go, because this is the grease that's in there. It's basically dust. No bueno. Now before I pull this shaft out, I also want to remove this shaft here, which goes along and contacts the worm in here. Removing that bushing grants us access to the shaft I've been talking about. Hello. Also still has all of its teeth, and this ash on here probably was grease a long time ago. So despite the obvious reason for failure being this shaft, I'm going to pull the other ones as well, clean them out and try and get them greased up. However, first off, this disc and then this shaft. Now the shaft has been pressed over the gear, so the name of the game now is to get that bond to break loose by supporting this over something that has a larger bore than the magnet. So it rests on these 4 pillars and the shaft can go straight through. Shaft is a bit dry, but doesn't look scored. The bushing on the other hand, well. I rarely ever use easy outs, but in this case, just give these a twist and out they come. Extracting the wick should open up a hole for oil to get onto the main shaft. There is no hole. It's completely gummed up and caked together with the rotten grease. There we go. What was in there? Ashes to ashes and Speedo to dust. I've had to somehow make sure that upon repairing this, or attempting a repair, both the dial and its axes are exactly concentric. So I just used my lathe to position both pieces into place. And I have got some aluminium solder. In Germany this stuff is called rubbing solder, and that's exactly what you've got to do. You've got to scrape away the oxide layer which is constantly forming and apply your solder that way to make it actually bond to the metal and not just be a big blob on top of it. I've now done that on this side and on the other side too. And maybe here you can see the difference between solder that has actually bonded to the base, like on the right, and solder that hasn't bonded, like on the left. And so I'm now going to revisit that side. And I've done the same on the inner piece here, which you can see has flown inside the divots here quite nicely. So I should be able to just put both together, heat them up, and the solder will contact with each other and make a strong bond. The worn-out main shaft bore in the housing is drilled out and reamed to 8mm. Bushings are drilled and reamed for 1/4 inch. So here are the 2 little brass bushings. And now we can drive them home. There we are. Doesn't look too bad. So I've cleaned up all the parts of the Speedo. We can now commence the reassembly of the main body. The bevel gear is driven back on and then the end punched over again. Make sure that there is enough end float to make it run freely. A slight side hit with a chisel is all it takes to secure the bushings back in place. After my solder repair, the dial was a wee bit too low and interfered with the magnet, so I used the lathe as an arbor press to very slightly push out the pin a few millimeters without bending it crooked. So I've quickly put some numbers onto this off camera. You've seen me do this enough times. These ones were just completely wiped out, so I decided a new one was in order here as well. And of course the numbers on the main dial. So now we can put the finishing touches onto our speedo housing. So I've tweaked the hairspring here on top as much as I could to make this register accurately. Now if I put this up here on the lathe, it should show 38 miles an hour. And when I sit it like this, easy. When I sit it like this, well, that's more like 30 miles an hour. I reckon that's because my solder repair caused an imbalance on this wheel. So if I tip the speedo like this, and it's veering towards 7 miles an hour, and when I tip it like this, it goes on to 0. I've talked to the owner of this thing, and he said that's fine, he's using a GPS anyways. Just be aware, this is more of a band-aid repair. This is now no longer a certified chronometer speedo. It's just a gimmick. The mile and odometer, however, will be still accurate. There we are. Let me do one final test run here, and then this is ready to go to the owner. As I said, it's supposed to show 38, it's showing more like 35, and if we tilt it down, it's going towards 30, and if we tilt it back up again, it's more like 35, but that's what you have to do when there is no spare parts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall reset this back to 0 and then get it back into the mail to be put back into a car. There we are.